It's rush hour in Berlin on a frigid, snowy morning. Commuter traffic is halted near a highway exit on the city's western outskirts, where a dozen climate activists sit on a pedestrian crossing in front of 4 lanes of automobiles and trucks. The activists are members of a group known as the Letzte Generation, or the Last Generation. They contend, like many scientists, that if governments do not act now, it will be too late for future generations to avert the climate calamity. Lynn Johnson, a member of the group, seems chilly as she finishes applying industrial-strength superglue to bind her chapped bare hands to the frigid pavement. "We're here today because we can't simply look at what the government is doing right now," says Johnson, a 24-year-old environmental science student. "They are not taking long overdue actions to preserve the lives of future generations." In this video, we will discuss the last generation activists in Germany, last hope or new kind of terror. Hello and welcome to FASHIONY-MAGAZINE, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Germany in need of new energy. Germany, Europe's biggest economy, is hurrying to replace Russian natural gas after Moscow shut down a critical pipeline this summer. In contrast to the government's climate protection pledges, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's ruling coalition is investing more, not less, in fossil fuels. To cover the hole created by the now-defunct Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline, it is reactivating existing coal power units and investing in a wholly new liquefied natural gas infrastructure. As a consequence, climate activists such as Johnson are staging more disruptive demonstrations on a regular basis. On some days, it's on a major metropolitan highway. On others, it's on the runways of Munich or Berlin. Climate urgency meets road rage. Johnson is dazzled by the headlights of the cars the activists are holding up as she sits with others who have fastened themselves to the road during a recent demonstration. Out of frustration, several of the drivers rev their engines. People come out of their automobiles and yell angrily. Johnson confesses to being nervous, but it pales in contrast to the greater picture. "I'm more afraid of how people will respond in a few decades when we're fighting for food or drinking water," she adds. "I wish to avoid this future. This is not something I desire." Jenny Proller, 48, says she's concerned about the planet's future, but this isn't the place to talk about it. "I'm not opposed to demonstrations, but this is something else. The audacity of these guys," Proller yells. "I'm attempting to get my daughter to an examination. She's a legal student who is taking the bar exam this morning." Another activist, Theodor Schnarr, 33, admits he is unpopular. According to a recent study for Der Spiegel magazine, 86% of Germans oppose demonstrators disturbing their commutes, while 53% believe that the government is not doing enough to combat climate change. Schnarr has been arrested and imprisoned twice for obstructing traffic. As a biochemist, he claims to be well-versed in climate change research and warnings. Burning fossil fuels hasten climate change, which is already having disastrous impacts throughout the planet, and experts warn that it will intensify if governments do not drastically reduce hazardous gas emissions. Fossil fuels as a short-term necessity. Less than a week after Russia started a full-fledged invasion of Ukraine in February, Economy and Climate Protection Minister Robert Habeck cautioned that Germany may need to rely on additional fossil fuels in the near term to safeguard its energy supplies. Scholz, the Social Democratic Chancellor, who established a coalition government with 2 other parties, pledged an additional 200 billion euros, or about $212 billion, this autumn to help cover rising energy bills in the approaching season. This money is used to replace Russian gas with fossil fuels. Habeck, a member of the Green Party, is now the cabinet minister in charge of locating these fossil fuels. He believes that measures such as his LNG contract with Qatar are just temporary. According to Germany's environmental agency, renewable energy accounted for 46% of the country's power this year. Habeck believes he can more than quadruple that in the following 7 years. According to Christoph Balz, policy director at the nonprofit German Watch, the implementation of the government's ambitious renewable energy law is taking too long due to conflicts within the coalition's 3 parties. Germany is well behind on renewables and electric cars because Green Party measures are being obstructed and delayed by Libertarian Free Democrat cabinet members, he tells NPR. Transport and Justice ministers from the Free Democratic Party are among those pushing for harsher penalties for climate activists who occupy roadways and airport runways. While Balls appreciates the campaigners' concerns about greater usage of gas and coal, he believes individuals who break the law face legal penalties. However, he claims that the Supreme Court has previously sided with environmentalists. The previous government's failure to act on climate change was already found unlawful by Germany's Constitutional Court, Balls adds, referring to a 2021 judgment. As a result, the same court may possibly consider these demonstrations to be valid, since they seek to preserve larger interests, notably the basic rights of future generations. Police have been raiding activists' homes. On June 22nd, protesters from the Letzte Generation splashed black paint on the chancellery in Berlin. According to the advocacy organization, the globe only has a few years to avert catastrophic levels of global warming. Last Generation, the climate justice organization, has increased its demonstrations throughout Germany. Its techniques, which have included public acts of museum artwork damage, have occasionally coincided with actions seen in other regions of Europe. German police have raided the residences of Last Generation members and are examining whether a recent demonstration prevented an ambulance from colliding with a pedestrian. Members claim that they always allow emergency services to get through. We don't want to put anybody at risk. Back on the road, a policeman uses a pastry brush soaked in cooking oil to remove the adhesive that is holding Johnson's hands to the road. Another cop stands nearby, ready with a bandage and handcuffs. Demonstration or terror? It's a long and arduous procedure. On his route to the hospital, an emergency room doctor is delayed for 90 minutes due to traffic caused by the activists. As the discussions get more hurried, it's evident that everyone feels a sense of haste and irritation. Prosecutors said almost a dozen people were being investigated for disturbing public order and creating a criminal organization. According to Cyril Clement, a prosecutor in Neuruppin, police searched more than 11 residences around the nation as part of their investigation. According to the public broadcaster ARD, the activists under investigation took part in many rallies in recent months, calling for the closure of the PCK Schwedt oil refinery, disrupting operations. The Last Generation movement slammed German authorities, claiming that police searches on activists' houses were an effort at intimidation. The administration is driving us toward a climatic catastrophe and irreversible loss of our livelihoods and the lives of our children, the activists said on Twitter. The organization said it would continue to hold rallies to raise awareness of climate change and that it would not modify its stance in light of the recent police raids. In recent months, the radical demonstrations and harsh activities have created controversy in German public opinion. To get public attention, climate activists bonded their hands to iconic artworks in museums, closed roads, and even airport runways. The activities against the Last Generation demonstrate the ferocity with which people in power will respond to any dissent that really threatens their interests. Last Generation advocates for extremely limited political demands that do not challenge the capitalist profit system, which is the root cause of environmental destruction. For example, a general speed limit of 100 kilometers per hour on highways, a law prohibiting food waste, and a €9 ticket covering local and regional travel. The organization does not address itself to working people who are disproportionately afflicted by the terrible effects of climate change, but rather to governments. It aims to put them under pressure via spectacular protest acts that garner as much media attention as possible. Its demands include an open dialogue with the federal government. The organization was created a year ago, before the federal election, when activists launched a hunger fast in Berlin's government area. It sought negotiations with 3 Christian Democrats, or CDU, Social Democrats, or SPD, and Green candidates for chancellor, as well as urgent steps against the climate disaster. Since then, Last Generation has collaborated with similar organizations in other countries, carrying out spectacular assaults on work of art and other valuable items, in addition to street blockades. Criticism of Last Generation approaches, which stem from a mix of despair at the terrible enormity of the climate issue and misplaced politics, does not warrant official persecution. The group's democratic right to free speech and protest, on the other hand, must be actively preserved. This is all from today's video. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And we really want to know, what is your opinion about Last Generation?